Hello one, hello all. It is the most sunburnt ghost of them all, Caspa in the flesh. And it's time for a review of DJ Khaled God Did. And man, DJ Khaled has always been one of those people, I guess you could say, or figures, we'll go with figure, who always brings artists together to serve a theme to fit the album rollout, to fit the album that is being presented. And the theme that he went with here is God Did. So, God's supposed to be this perfect being, very powerful, but if there is a God, I think he or she would disagree with the quality of this album and consistency, and probably look at this as straight up blasphemy, because, man, does this have some imperfections running all through it. Yeah, God would frown upon this album, probably frowning upon it right now, if he or she exists. But I'm sure he or she would appreciate the highlights here, because there certainly are some highlights. I'm not going to lie about that. I'm not going to cap on the great tracks on here. You know, this isn't Khaled. That's what it was called, right? Khaled, the really bad one that we do not want to commit to memory. That one. But we'll focus on the highlights first, and then we'll get into the downside. Cool? Cool. Also, new lights coming soon. So, the highlights on here, I would say, is Keep It Going with Lil Durk, 21 Savage, Roddy Ricch. The production has this very ghostly feel to it. Ominous horns, fluttering synths, really complementing the savagery that Roddy and 21 Savage and Lil Durk bring to it. Like, you definitely feel it here. You feel the energy, you feel the grit. Highlight. And let me just say, too, that I have noticed the legends on the album have the weaker tracks in comparison to the newbies. What is going on here? Now, that's not to say newbies can't come through with a fire track. They can. It's just the rappers who have not been delivering their best consistently outshine the vets on here. It happens. Trust me. Except for Jay-Z, which we will get into later. He is not outshined. In fact, I think he has the best verse on this album. But let's get back to the tracks. Lotto and City Girls come through with a very soulful, vintage style banger, just delivering fire front to back and absolutely killing it on Bills Paid. The 808 drums are great. The rhythm guitars really bring a funky feel to the track, very necessary. The disco strings give it a very thematic, epic feel. And just, it's empowering. It's empowering. And I feel women definitely need empowerment right now. And Jadakiss, man, comes through with the fuck shit up and leave vibe right here over these soulful, grandiose production with a very passionate verse talking about the trials and tribulations, the ups and downs of living in New York. And his verse just has like so much conviction, so much grit to it. It's what you would want in a Jadakiss track. Unfortunately, this is not a track, this is an interlude. What the fuck? But still, it's a highlight. I'll take it. And you could make the argument too that DJ Khaled is no stranger to exploitation. And you would win that argument because I would agree with you. However, I would not agree with you that the track that Juice Wrld is on, Juice Wrld Did, is a dud by default, which is not the case. No. Because I feel his best was captured on here. The very harrowing emo vocals hit really hard. The production has a lot of emotion to it, which complements him. And he's just going off here. And it's just a highlight and a lost gem that I'm glad we heard. But we know the motivation behind it. We know. Now, unfortunately, those are the highlights. But those are as tracks. Now, as verses, there is a verse on here which is a monstrous verse, like damn near a church service. And I'm talking about Jay-Z's God Did verse. God did. Yeah. I don't know what it is with Khaled. Like, he always uses the most grating vocals to tagline an album. I don't know why, but he does it. He's great at that. He's a legend at terrible taglines, for sure. But let's put that aside and focus on Jay's absolute monstrous godlike verse on here. Like, with bars like, these ain't songs, these is hymns because I'm him, the book of Hove, Jesus turned water to wine for Hove, it just took a stove, I just got $1 million off a sink without risking 1,000,000 years trying to get it out the sink. You might have to Google that because he's talking about business there. So if you get that line, it's going to click with you and you're going to think it's fire. Because it is. And I love this line too. The way I used to play with life, now I'm careful with my sentences. Those are the only bars I like. Like, here's the thing with these bars here, in this verse in general. Like, the reason it's great not only is because of the cleverness on here, the boss-like status he has on here, but there's a triumphant feel to it. You know what I mean? There's a progression because he talks about doing what he had to do to survive and now surviving and living life to the fullest. Like, just being that boss and just showing the progression and just doing it in a very clever way. And I love that, honestly. Like, just coming through these straight bars about, you know, just staying above water. And he is walking on fucking water on here, in my opinion. Now we gotta talk about the duds. Use This Gospel. Now, with a track like Use This Gospel, which was a highlight off of a very bad album that Kanye made, Jesus is King, we get a very poor remix, which you would think would have been God tier. I mean, we have the rap god on here, Eminem, the proclaimed rap god. We have a rapper who proclaims himself as God, but instead we get this very throwaway, non-powering track. Remix, to be honest, where Eminem just delivers these weak triplet flows, doesn't really go anywhere, very repetitious. And the bars on here, man, like, granted, I could pick apart like how weak his bars are, but the one that did it for me, that made me want to throw in the towel, was, I'm armed with Jesus. My weapon is prayer. Soon as I squeeze it, I'm blessed like sneezes. Jesus Christ. Well, at least we didn't get a corny cliche achoo bar after, because that would have just added insult to injury. But yeah, pretty much a dud. And Khaled is like no stranger to ruining like classic songs, like we heard on Jodeci's "Freakin' You," where Lil Wayne and Gunna pretty much ruined that song, just sucked the absolute soul out of it. But yeah, it happens again, twice in a way, but this one really takes out the funk and the fun and very groovy "Party All the Time" by Eddie Murphy. Now, I know you may frown upon that song, but I think it's fun. But the fun is pretty much taken out of this when we have these passionless, half-hearted, I don't even know if they have their heart, we'll say heartless, vocal performance and very forgettable hook on this rendition of "Party All the Time," which features Quavo and Takeoff. Like, I'm just seeing I'm hearing one of my favorite songs just shang sooned in front of my ears, and it just upsets me. Oh, and if you find yourself suffering from sleep deprivation, do I have the cut for you? It's Drake with "Staying Alive" featuring Lil Baby, and let me tell you, this track is just so throwaway for me. Like, Champagne Poppy pretty much continues to be NyQuil Poppy, and Lil Baby doesn't really add much to the track either. It's just a very sleepy, nap time, automatic cut right here, and it's just not really doing much for me. And the song "Beautiful" with SZA and Future, I don't know what to think of this. I mean, I feel like it dresses itself up like it's supposed to be endearing. I mean, granted, there is toxicity um, mentioned here, but I don't think the production complements it. I don't think that SZA's vocals like complement it. I mean, I'll put it this way: if it was just SZA on here and it's just the production, I think it would have been fine. But Future just ruins it for me. He makes it more toxic and backhanded. Like, I don't even think he knows what this track's supposed to be. Like, saying "make her feel like a superstar. She way above average." Talk about backhanded. And then he says, "You can't up and leave because you caught a guy cheating." Yeah, she could. And I just feel like his verse just really missed the mark. And SZA and Future just have no chemistry on here. The chemistry is non-existent. So yeah, this track's pretty much a lost cause. And a majority of the songs on here are pretty much just mid. I mean, there are some verses that are okay, but as overall songs, they just really do nothing for me. Now, I will say this is probably the best DJ Khaled album in a while. Certainly better than Khaled. Meh, along the lines of Major Key, but yeah, this isn't something I'd want to return to. This is something where I would pick the tracks off and put them in a playlist. But other than that, I'm not really enjoying this as a whole. And if God did this, then my faith has been shaken. Not that I really had a strong faith to begin with. So yeah, those are my thoughts. I am feeling two light black hearts out of 5 on this. If you've checked this out, what were your opinions on it? Do you have faith? Have you lost your faith? Let me know in the comments. Caspa, DJ Khaled, till we meet again.